Hey everyone, my name is Dillon Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director of GeekVibesNation.com and also a co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast. And welcome to a brand new episode of No Streaming Required, your weekly deep dive into all the latest and greatest in the world of physical media. Welcome back. We have another jam-packed episode for you this week, full of wonderful titles from the Vinegar Syndrome partner labels. We have stuff from Paramount, 88 films, cult epics. We have a really well-rounded slate that I'm so excited to dig into. As always, if you want a little bit more of a deeper dive, make sure to check out GeekVibesNation.com, where I'll be doing written reviews for most of these titles over the next couple of weeks. But for now, I'll try to give you a pretty broad overview of all these titles and try to give you everything you need to know. And just dig in as much as I can. And the first title I'm excited to talk about is the 4K debut of Better Off Dead from Paramount, starring John Cusack, from director Savage Steve Holland. The director, he directed one of my favorite discoveries over the last few years from the Warner Archive, which was One Crazy Summer. And his absurd sense of humor kind of carries off over into this film, which I had never seen before. It is John Cusack as kind of a love-struck teenager who he's been dating a girl who ends up breaking up with him to go out with the captain of the ski team. And this kind of sends him into a bit of a spiral. And he starts to go into have some kind of darker thoughts and everything. That it's still funny and it kind of goes along with the title, and just trying to find ways to win this girl back while at the same time crossing paths with a foreign exchange student who may actually be the girl that he should be with. All while all kind of antics are around him, just really absurd humor. There are altercations with the boy who delivers his newspaper. There's all kinds of stuff going on. They're like really just glorious gags that are very surreal and not really a huge part. It wasn't as prevalent during this era of the 80s. It seemed like more select mainstream films tackle this type of humor, but it always really tickles my funny bone, and I found it to be really, really funny. And also an unexpected holiday movie here, taking place around the Christmas season. I'm a fan of John Cusack on screen, and he usually does a good job in this kind of arena, and he does a really nice job with this humor. All the ensemble is very good as well. There's a lot of quotable lines here that I've seen bandied about the internet over the years, but I'd never seen the movie, so now things make a little bit more sense in context. But this is the 40th anniversary, you can see here. I'm glad that this got a 4K upgrade, because I know that the Blu-ray that is included in here was from an older source. It was an ancient VC1 codec, which definitely could use some work. And now that we've got this new 4K remaster in Dolby Vision, we do have that improvement. I will say this is a Paramount disc, so there is reason to be concerned whether or not this was encoded by the A team or the B team. I hate that these are actually things that people have to discuss, because all releases should be given the A treatment. But Paramount can be a little bit inconsistent in their encoding. And this one, it is good. It's a good 4K, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's A plus 4K. It's definitely better than the old Blu-ray. There are some encoding things I think could be kind of tightened up to make this a more consistent presentation, but I think just some of the source of this, it was never going to be like the absolute like crispest image. There's a lot of opticals in here that kind of take away from a little bit of that fine detail, but it looks like a very good base 4K, but it's just not something I think that you're going to use as demo material. But for this movie, I think it does look quite good. You get some nice increase in details and textures, like on clothing and production design. There's a little bit of digital smoothing here and there, but this hasn't been DNR'd to hell. It's just been kind of a light touch, which Paramount seems to do, but it's not as egregious as some titles we've talked about. And even the Dolby Vision, with the colors being like more nuanced and enhanced, it does get a little bit more depth, but I wouldn't say these are exactly like popping off the screen. They look very nice, but once again, this just isn't something that I think is going to dazzle the average person. But if you take it as to what it's supposed to look like and how it compares to the old Blu-ray, this is a improvement, and I am glad this has got the 4K treatment. They haven't really taken advantage with this anniversary to add any new special features or anything. There's only there's no special features on the 4K, and then the Blu-ray is carrying over the trailer, so not really any special features at all. And in terms of the audio presentation, you do get the DTS 5.1 track that was on the previous Blu-ray, but it drops the 2.0 track, the 2.0 stereo track, which is unfortunate, just to have that kind of original audio option as well. The 5.1 track does sound good, and it's fairly immersive and tasteful, but just having that option would have been preferable just to kind of make this a more well-rounded experience. But as is, hilarious movie. And with the holidays coming up here in a few months, I think this would make a good holiday viewing or anytime viewing. So if you're a fan of this one, the 4K is the best way to own this. I view it at home. Just keep your expectations in check that it might not be quite a 5-star presentation, but it is very good in terms of Paramount's releases. And it is good that we got this on 4K because I think it does deserve it. With our next 4K, we're going all the way over to Australia and importing from Imprint the 4K debut of Midnight Cowboy. So just because we are importing this, don't be afraid. This will work in players worldwide. The 4K and the Blu-ray disc, they are region free. So you are clear to purchase to your heart's content. This comes usually on the back side. It has this little cardboard piece that comes off here that I tuck neatly into the package that kind of lists everything, but that's the back there. And then this has 2 cases, the first of which is this for the movie itself, Midnight Cowboy. So you got the 4K disc here and the Blu-ray disc of the movie. And then you also, exclusive to this set, you have the Desperate Souls, Dark City, and The Legend of Midnight Cowboy. This was on the Oscar shortlist for Best Documentary within the past few years. And this was released in the U.S., on its own, but it was only on DVD. This is a Blu-ray release of that. So if you want to own this documentary that kind of details the legacy of Midnight Cowboy, you can own it on Blu-ray through this set as well. So that's a major bonus in my opinion, just because that is something I was wanting to own, but I try to avoid adding as many DVDs to my collection as possible. Just because I know, hopefully I'll usually get lucky with somewhere around the world finding a Blu-ray, and in this case, it is part of this set. And luckily, Criterion Collection has the rights to Midnight Cowboy in the U.S., and they have not released a 4K yet. So the Imprint has got the jump on them with this really, really good set. And this is from a 4K remaster. And I'm not exactly sure of the provenance. They could be using the Criterion Master. I know there was some controversy regarding color grading of that one. I'm not exactly sure. It doesn't seem to be as much of an issue on this master, so there may have been some tweaking. But it is a 4K restoration in Dolby Vision, and this is a really, really nice looking presentation. It's it's a gritty 70s movie, so lots of film grain and everything that resolves pretty well. Everything's pretty stable in terms of the presentation. You go to a lot of like dark, dingy locales, especially where our main characters are kind of holding up for much of the movie, where things are just kind of gross and seedy. And it's downtown New York, and just these characters trying to stay alive, and you get all that texture within the picture, and it really, really thrives on 4K. And then you also get a couple of audio tracks, a 5.1 and a 2.0 audio track. I sampled the 5.1, but I mostly did the original 2.0 track. It sounded really good and stable. Some of the iconic songs, like Everybody's Talking, that kind of sound like as a main theme to the movie. That sounds really great throughout. Nothing seemed to falter with the fidelity or anything like that. No damage or outright distortion or anything like that that I could tell. Everything sounded pretty solid. And so visually it looks very good. Audio looks good as well. So I definitely think this is the best that the film has looked on home entertainment. It's a matter of when, probably not if, Criterion releases this on 4K. I don't think they would really top this presentation. As much as I love Criterion, and I do really love them, sometimes their encoding can be a little bit inconsistent. So I think that it would either match or the imprint release, or the imprint would probably edge it out a little bit. And you don't have to wait for that to be released. And I highly doubt that they would include the extra documentary that I was speaking about from a couple years ago. So if you are a fan of this movie, it's probably not worth waiting, and you should probably look into importing this because it's a really nice hard case set that it has really good audiovisual presentation. It's a classic movie. It's a Best Picture winner. It's the only X-rated Best Picture winner to date. The classic tale of John Voight going to New York to make his way as a hustler and kind of getting his kind of pie in the sky dreams kind of knocked down to earth as he keeps kind of not really capitalizing on his dream, really kind of struggling to make ends meet. He meets Dustin Hoffman's character, who's kind of a con man who he becomes friends with, and just this whole scenario of them trying to survive and also becoming friends, and just the trials and tribulations that they go through. It's very interesting. It's I guess I understand why it was an X rating back in the day, but I don't think there's a lot of really X-rated stuff in this. I should have been an R rating. But it was my first time watching this one, and I found it to be very compelling and a really interesting Best Picture winner, especially for that time. How the Academy started to be a little bit more accepting of a little bit more edgier material. And that one was an especially good win, and I really enjoyed catching up on it. And lots of great performances. I don't like John Voight as a person very much these days, but he is really good in this movie. And then Dustin Hoffman's a really great performer as well. Just really, really excellent movie. In terms of the special features, you get 2 commentary tracks, one of which I believe is new to this. There's new and archival featurettes, and then that entire extra documentary that I spoke about. I think this is missing some of the special features from the Criterion release. So if you happen to have that as well, hang on to that if you are like a special features completist. But in terms of just having the best audio-visual presentation, this imprint release, it is a little bit pricey, but it is worth the money. They've put a lot of care into this, and Imprint's been doing a really good job with their 4K releases. So really excited to have this in my collection. So glad I didn't have to wait any longer to see it in 4K. It's a really great 4K debut from Imprint, so make sure to pick it up if you're a fan of this film. Now we're going to go over to our Vinegar Syndrome partner labels area of the podcast. There's a really nice slate of releases this month. The first of which I have a couple of cinematograph titles. The first of which I'm talking about is Paul Morrissey's Mixed Blood. This is a 4K release. It's a really nice thick one, thick packaging. This is actually my first Paul Morrissey film. I know that'll be sacrilege to some of you, but I'm still catching up on certain titles, and this was an interesting one. I will say I don't think it was this first watch was completely my speed, but it is certainly one that I'm eager to rewatch in the near future. Just because tonally, I was a little bit surprised by some of kind of the how the humor mixes with this narrative. This is a nice built-in booklet here, full of essays you can get here, and then both discs. This kind of gangland drama of just like this Brazilian kind of matriarch figure who is leading one gang and kind of crossing paths with a rival faction, and kind of the violence that erupts between them. And all within here, there's like a white woman who's kind of an outsider who kind of gets into this scenario and kind of enmeshed in everything. And there's a lot of dark humor within this. And what I was kind of more so struggling with wasn't so much the tone. It was kind of just the amateurish performances, which I think is kind of the point of this movie, is just kind of getting like a real raw, authentic like feeling. But I did struggle a little bit with some of the performers, and their line readings just kind of fell a little bit flat for me, but I thought the plot was engaging enough. I didn't hate the movie by any means. It just didn't connect with me like as much as other Cinematograph titles on my first watch, but especially with all the special features giving context and everything, it is certainly one that I could see improving in my appreciation in future viewings. But in terms of the release itself, this is really special because this hasn't been released on Blu-ray before, let alone 4K. So having this debut in 4K with the remastered Blu-ray as well is good for fans who want to upgrade for either format. Because if you're only on buy Blu-rays, you can buy this and kind of future-proof yourself. If you ever do get a 4K player, you will have that already ready. But the Blu-ray is from the same base master, and it's fantastic. This is from a 4K restoration of the original camera negative. It looks really terrific. It's appropriately gritty. This is kind of really low budget, grimy, urban shooting. It pairs nicely actually with the Midnight Cowboy I was just talking about. But this is just like all kind of the grimy textures within the gang hideouts, and kind of just, you really feel like you're in this kind of dingy community. And all the textures of the clothing, all that kind of stuff, any kind of facial hair, all that, it stands out very well in Dolby Vision. Not the most colorful film, but all the colors are as like deep and nuanced as they should be. Not much in the way of damage or anything. There's still a couple of lingering things here and there, like little lines that didn't quite get cleaned up completely within the restoration process. Probably like kind of a limitation of the source. But this has been cleaned up quite well. And overall, this is, I think anyone who has been waiting for this will be very pleased with how well it's been taken care of. You get the original mono soundtrack, which sounds quite good for what the source is. Once again, this is kind of a low budget kind of guerrilla affair. So some things sound a little bit hollow, but it has been cleaned up to sound as strong and as stable as possible. You do get a commentary track, you get interviews, you get a video essay. Overall, Justin over at Cinematograph has done a really nice job with this one. And if you're a fan of Paul Morrissey, I can't imagine that you would be disappointed. Or if you're a fan of kind of Vinegar Syndrome's output in general, I think this will kind of fit right in with kind of your sensibilities. Mixed Blood on 4K. It's a very impressive package for this one. My next release from Cinematograph is on a Blu-ray release. Then we're going to the late 90s. We have The Woman Chaser, starring Patrick Warburton. People may know Warburton best as a voice on Family Guy or in Seinfeld. But he is really a talented actor who I'd never really seen given such a wonderful role to inhabit here. This is kind of like a take on kind of like a old school noir, in which a man returns to California, opens up a car dealership, but really determines that he wants to try to get into the movie business. And by getting into the movie business, things just kind of start spiraling out of control. And you start to wonder what is real or what is going on within this kind of more movie adjacent universe. And it's kind of like darkly comedic and surreal. And Warburton really kind of sinks his teeth into this one. It's like I said, really kind of dark, surreal humor, but I was very much on board. This character that we're following, this kind of classic noir archetype, he really is. You come to see him to be like a real jerk and really kind of make some decisions that really leave you questioning whether or not you even want to follow this guy, but then you just keep following him because he's so fascinating, and just seeing where he's like his kind of grappling with the artistic process and like struggling with trying to maintain this artistic integrity to make the perfect movie. Just like seeing him kind of descend into madness is fascinating. Really interesting movie. The Woman Chaser, this has been kind of not the most well-known movie, so it's really cool to see this get rescued for Blu-ray. And this one has been given a 2K restoration of the 35mm original camera negative. This is the full uncensored version of the film, so you can rest easy that you are getting the ideal version of this. The original black and white version is the main version of this movie, but you also get the rare color version of this movie as a supplemental feature. It seems to have been given the same amount of restoration care. So you can watch either, but for artistic integrity and for this kind of being noir adjacent, I would stick with the original black and white. It's been kind of composed on screen for that, so I would stick with that. Everything about this looks really great. No major damage or anything like that. All of the grayscale looks nice and the contrasts are perfect. There's no blown out highlights, deep black levels, really nice texture within everything. But even when you go to the color version, all the colors look nice and nuanced and vibrant. So if you do choose to watch that version, it does look good. Stereo soundtrack sounds nice. No major shortcomings. Everything's been restored quite well. I didn't notice any popping or any kind of damage at all. Everything holds together very well. This is very much a narration heavy affair, and all the narration always comes through really nicely. You get 2 commentary tracks and some interviews, including an interview with Patrick Warburton that's like 20 minutes long, which I thought was really cool. And I'm glad that they were able to secure his insights, because it really kind of helped put some things into context for this movie. So overall, really, really impressive package for The Woman Chaser from Cinematograph. Glad this one got a Blu-ray release. It is very much worth checking out if you kind of like low budget indie experimental films that are accessible, but definitely has like that noir tinge to it to make it have its own identity. So The Woman Chaser on Blu-ray, worth checking out. Continuing with our partner labels from Vinegar Syndrome, we are going over to IFC Films and their release of Francois Ozon's Young and Beautiful from 2013. I've just in recent years been getting more into Ozon, and this is fairly like solidly in like the middle of the pack. This is an interesting movie about a young woman who she has just turned 17 at the beginning of the movie. She has just lost her virginity, and the experience left her unsatisfied. So you kind of jump forward a few months in time, and she has become a sex worker, and you see her kind of meeting up with different clients, hiding things from her parents, and just generally just trying to take control of her sexuality and make money, and just to have control over her life. And you see things kind of like her meeting with different clients, how that kind of affects her, the different dramas that occur, and how how trying to keep this from her parents kind of gently kind of builds up, and how that kind of eventually unleashes itself. It's a really interesting movie. Feels a little bit repetitive at times, but it is fairly short. It's only like an hour and a half, so it doesn't really overstay its welcome. And I think it does a fairly sensitive job of not being too exploitative or anything. But there is a fair amount of nudity in that for those who want to know such things. But it's not overly like voyeuristic. I think it's sensitively handled in terms like of a young woman kind of exploring her sexuality and trying to have power within kind of these kind of dynamics and stuff, but also kind of reckoning with what is going on in her life by the end, and really trying to get like kind of more of like an internal introspection of what she is going throughout. Like I'm trying to be vague, but there's certain things that occur, and she has to kind of come to terms of how she feels about certain things and how she's going to get past certain developments. But overall, good movie. I enjoyed it, and our lead actress here, she's really great. Maureen Vax. She's really good, and there's a very famous actress who shows up near the end of the movie. I won't ruin that surprise for people. She's in the cast credits if you care to look. But that was also a good surprise for Ozon fans. Overall, the video presentation looks quite nice. I'm not sure about any like new master or anything, but I assume it was captured digitally. So it's probably from the digital intermediate from 2013 that's been kind of enhanced to fit current standards, and everything looks nice and natural. No, doesn't seem to be unnatural tinkering. All the colors look good. Textures are where they're supposed to be, like within like sheets and clothing. Not too much in the way of like exceptionally bold colors or like vibrant colors, but because this mostly takes place in kind of like colder months and everything. But everything looks really nice. There's a kind of sequence where they go to like a club that has some really nice kind of more neon type lights that really show off well. And the sound, the sound quality is good. I do want to note that for this title, this happens on another few titles that I'll talk about. This is a French film, but the English subtitles are burned in. They are not optional. So like, if you wanted to get rid of these subtitles, you would not be able to. You could just choose to have SDH subtitles, which would add like kind of descriptors along with it. But in terms of taking away the subtitles entirely, that is not an option within the disc itself. That's not typically ideal for international films, where people might want to, like, if they know the language, take it away completely. But that is not the case with this release. So you get the booklet that I showed off, and you also get a new commentary track from Alexandra Heller-Nicholas, who always does a really nice job, especially with more sensitive, like, female sexuality driven movies. Like, I believe she was also the person who did the commentary track for Sleeping Beauty a couple months ago. So it's good to see her here offering more insights that are always very enlightening. You get interviews, archival interviews, deleted scenes, a snippet of their time at Cannes whenever this premiered. And yeah, overall, IFC Films, good release of Young and Beautiful. If you're an Ozon fan, good to have this one on Blu-ray. Going also with IFC Films, we have from director Jamie Babbitt, Breaking the Girls. Some who were with me last week may remember that I talked about But I'm a Cheerleader. Now we are over a decade past that one, and Babbitt is back directing this kind of Hitchcockian-inspired tale. It's kind of a riff on Strangers on a Train, but with some differences about two girls who start to hang out with one another, and one of them who's a little bit more unstable, played by Madeline Zima. She kind of seemingly jokes, but not about like, hey, if you kill this person for me and like I kill this person for you, we could probably get away with it and stuff. And our lead, played by Agnes Bruckner, she doesn't really take it too seriously until someone close to her that she doesn't like ends up dead, and things kind of spiral out of control there from there. So some key differences from Strangers on a Train, but kind of that's the main kind of gist of things. Through a queer lens through Jamie Babbitt, she does a really nice job kind of tackling this story, which did leave me a little bit incredulous at various points, but overall, dramatically, I found it engaging, and I thought it was a very interesting movie. I liked the performers. You have one of the Ashmore brothers. It's either Aaron or Sean is in this one. Sean Ashmore, because he's on one of the interviews. Overall, pretty good, kind of dramatic thriller. Like, yeah, it's all right. It's strictly in the middle of the partner labels I was talking about this week. But it's overall, I enjoyed it. So Breaking the Girls, on HD now and Blu-ray, and it looks good. Solid HD transfer. Doesn't look overly processed. Everything looks pretty nice and natural. Some good textures. Some of the foliage and everything renders quite nicely. The audio sounds good as well, and you get a new commentary track for this one as well. Interviews, new interviews and archival interviews. So the Jamie Babbitt, she does a new commentary track and a new interview, and then you get some archival stuff. So I'm glad to see that she's been kind of being able to reevaluate kind of reintroduce some of her older movies, and yeah, I'll take all that I can get. So Breaking the Girls from IFC Films, it's a good release. We have a new partner label this month. It's called the label's called Hope Runs High, and their first release is We Might As Well Be Dead. This has kind of been described as kind of like a Yorgos Lanthimos-esque dark comedy, and I can kind of understand where people are coming from in terms of like similarities like to The Lobster and stuff. It's about a community. Content warning, they're about to show a little bit of nudity on this reversible cover art here. It's about a community. You don't get a lot of context to the world, but you can just tell that there's something going on in the world that is causing everyone to want to seek shelter. And there happens to be this community, kind of high-rise, where people are kind of evaluated on whether or not they can come in and live within this community, and everyone's really close, and everyone seemingly has something to contribute within this smaller community building. And it's all kind of idyllic until one day one man's dog goes missing, and it just kind of plants the seed of doubt in this community of like who maybe like if something happened to this dog, maybe someone did something to the dog, and then other events happen that makes this like suspicions grow even more, and kind of starts to become like of a mob mentality of like trusting your neighbor, just how things kind of snowball out of control, and fear of outsiders and all kinds of stuff. And all this is through our main protagonist, who she is an immigrant who happens to be the head of security, and she has some drama going on at home with her daughter, who refuses to come out of the bathroom because she believes she has the evil eye, and that she caused the dog. Like she had bad thoughts about the dog and wanted him to be gone, and now he's gone, and now she thinks that she's causing all this madness. I think this is a very clever movie. It's really smart and funny. It made me really upset at certain times, just because I wanted these characters to not make certain decisions, or I was like, they would say certain things that I knew would like put them more on the outs with the greater mob, and I was just really rooting for them, which I guess is a good thing because I cared about these characters and I wanted what was best for them. But it did really kind of like make me very stressed out in a good way, and I did quite enjoy it. I believe this is a German film. It was actually a directorial debut, and I think it was even a student film. You would never know it. It looks great. And everything is it works out really well. Like a couple of titles ago that I talked about, this has burned subtitles. So if you want to take away the subtitles, they are burned into the picture, and they are not removable. So just be aware of that. But visually, the movie looks good. It's just a couple of years old, and from 2022, everything looks really nice. Sound is good as well, and you get some special features for this one, including an introduction from the studio that put this out, or the label that put this out, interviews, a conversation. Yeah, there's some nice stuff on here. Really satiric, absurd, dark comedy. I really like this one from Hope Runs High. And it makes me very hopeful for where this label is going to go in the future. But this is a really good first release from them, and with like the booklet and stuff that I showed off as well. Really nice release overall, and yeah, worth checking out if you kind of like that kind of like absurd Yorgos Lanthimos-esque. But I don't want to just saddle this director, Natalia Selenikova, with that kind of, she is her own person and she has her own stylistic stuff, but just in general, that's just a kind of a good comparison if you're wanting to kind of know sort of the tone. So like anything like Lobster or Apple from another kind of Lanthimos like disciple, anything like, if you like that kind of tone, I think you'll like We Might As Well Be Dead. Now going over to a really important piece of Filipino cinema. From the Philippines, we have Canny releasing Bona. Canny has actually given this a 4K release, which is very cool. I had never heard of this movie before this release, but I think it's really cool that they decided to give this really important movie for this country such a lavish release. And I'll kind of show off the artwork on the back. It's not exactly reversible cover art, but considering this is a fully black case, it's a shame you can't see what's underneath normally, but you can see it there. But I like this movie quite a bit. It did also kind of frustrate me in certain ways, but I think intentionally so, just because I wanted better for this female protagonist, who is a young woman. She's kind of like in her, seems to be like early 20s. She's in college, it seems to be. But she spends most of her days going to movie sets close to her house, and she's kind of really become obsessed with like this really like bit player on the set who she just thinks is fantastic. She's always following him around, like bringing him food and just trying to find little moments to talk to him. She ends up getting into a situation where she takes care of him one night when he's kind of out of it and like he's been beaten up by someone, and she ends up moving in with him, like, much against her family's wishes, and she kind of devotes herself to this man who seems to be quite content with having someone in the house that basically function as a maid for him, but he continues going on about his life as he wants. He keeps picking up women and bringing them home, and this lady's just happy to be like near him, taking care of him. She does get a little bit jealous, but still she's just more so just like is devoted to him. And it's really kind of it kind of keeps bubbling and bubbling, like how much she's willing to take from this man, and how like this eventually kind of culminates. It works very well in terms of like this actress who I don't know a lot about, but I know from what I could tell from like the description and some of the special features that this was really riffing on her own popularity within her country and really taking that and recontextualizing it and tackling it in interesting ways. So through that lens, I think it works really well in Bona. It's a really fascinating movie. It's not overly long either. It's only like a little under an hour and a half. But the lead actress is fantastic. The object of her affection, the dude, he is insufferable, but I think that's a credit to how the character's written and stuff. He sells it very well. In terms of this 4K release, it's been given a really beautiful 4K restoration. It's a lot of work was put into this. There's like a couple of text screens that tells everything that went into this, but I'll just say this is a really good 4K restoration that's been cleaned up super well, and it really thrives in 4K in Dolby Vision. Really deep, nuanced colors, no damage from what I could tell. Everything is just really nice, detailed, crisp. Everything looks beautiful, and they really, really went out all the way with this release. Mono soundtrack in the original language sounds great. You have interviews, you have a Q&A, you have a short film, you have a really nice selection of special features. This was in recent years, after the restoration got completed, they toured the film around theatrically again. So you had some people like holding these Q&As and stuff at festivals to kind of reintroduce the film to the world. So now Kanye is releasing it on 4K, and is very much worth checking out if you're into checking out kind of interesting dramas from around the world. This one is worth adding to your collection. We have some interesting documentaries from Film Movement that I'm going to get into. First of which is from Sweden and Norway. We have the Gullspang Miracle. Probably mispronouncing that, but this is one I have to be very vague about, just because the revelations are really one of the great joys of this movie, because I saw like some quotes on the front kind of compared this to like Three Identical Strangers. So if you've seen that movie, you know that's full of twists and turns. So I'll be very vague and just say the initial setup is that there are two sisters who contact a documentary filmmaker with this incredible story in which after years and years, they come across a woman who looks and seems to be the sister that they believe killed herself like 40 years ago. And how, like, what is this woman's story? Is this their sister who supposedly died? And now that they've come across, and what is going to go from here? And that's all I'm willing to tell you, because this goes into some wild places, full of all kinds of revelations. And even if there are certain things that don't quite get resolved by the end, there are just the dynamics that, like, where the story goes is fascinating. There's some really dark humor. There's some not like some real dark stuff without humor. There's some really like kind of like unpleasant topics being broached. There's some really cringe-worthy things, not in like awkward, but like actually like family dynamics that like will make you cringe. And it's fascinating. I had a blast watching this. So if you like kind of like more mystery-driven documentaries, this one is worth going into as blind as possible. I will promise you, what I've told you will not spoil anything. It's just the tip of the iceberg. But this one is definitely worth checking out. It's a good ride. As a documentary fan, I had a lot of fun with this. Beautiful HD presentation. This is not that old. It came out in recent years. Really stable textures, colors, everything great. Sound, great. Original languages and stuff. Um, uh, got English subtitles. You got some like an interview with the director, which is good. And yeah, and then the booklet I showed off. So Gullspang Miracle, worth checking out if you like mystery documentaries. Now, my other documentary is not a mystery, but it is a heartbreaker. It's a tearjerker. It is My Love, Don't Cross That River. Now, as you can kind of tell from here, you might be able to just surmise what this is about. This is a Korean film, like the most successful Korean documentary of all time, about a couple who has been together for over 70 years, and just their love story as they grow older and they unfortunately are getting closer to the end, and how they are kind of trying to prepare for that, care for each other till the end, love one another, and just deal with it's just a portrait of love between two people who have just been together for so long, and just seeing little moments with them. This isn't like a talking head affair or anything like that. You're just seeing these gentle moments and playful moments and moments with their family. But mostly it's just them caring for one another and just really reckoning with their lives to this point, just sharing some of their story, but not in like a ham-fisted way. It's really natural and beautiful. And it will probably devastate you if you have a heart, but it is really a powerful movie. As like I said, I'm a documentary fan, and this one touched me. Good HD picture. Everything looks really nice, crisp, clear, original language, English subtitles. In terms of special features, you get deleted scenes that didn't make the final cut of the movie. But overall, really nice release from Film Movement for this heartbreaking documentary that is very much worth a watch. I'm not sure how much you'll want to rewatch it, just because it is a devastating watch. But it is a nice Blu-ray if you are looking to pick it up. Now we are going to a movie that actually was first, this Blu-ray was first released in 2017, but now just getting re-released through this partner label program. This is Pelle the Conqueror. I think it is important to note, I should have mentioned it earlier, but all these partner label titles I'm talking about have optional slipcovers you can get exclusively at the Vinegar Syndrome website or certain indie retailers like Diabolic. But you can either get these standard editions, which is what I'm showing without a slipcover, or a really nice thick slipcover for a couple dollars extra. If you don't own this film, you can now own it with a slipcover or without. But this is the same 2017 release of this movie that is, it was a Palme d'Or winner at Cannes. It won Best International Feature back in the day. It had earned Max von Sydow a Best Actor nomination. So this is a really well-respected film about a father and son who go from Sweden to Denmark in search for employment, because they're eventually trying to make it to America. But they end up on this kind of farm where they are treated quite poorly by the people in power, but they do start to form a little bit of a community, but mostly sticking with one another and really just trying to stick their situation out until they can hopefully further themselves and everything. And it's a 2.5 hour Swedish drama or Norwegian drama, in which you do have these characters like going through major life events, and there's loss, there's love, there's everything in between. There's just so much going on in this sprawling narrative. But I love a sprawling narrative, and especially just kind of like one that's more so saddled in more the human experience. And for that reason, I did quite like Pelle the Conqueror. Pele is the boy. But it's a really good movie, and I hadn't known this before, but this 2017 Blu-ray was from a 2K restoration. Does look quite nice. I didn't notice anything majorly like damage-wise lingering, maybe small nicks or lines here and there. Overall holds up quite well. The video also, or the sound also sounds quite good, so no major shortcomings. You do get a commentary track for this one, but no other real special features besides the booklet that I showed off. So if you already own this from Blu-ray and you don't care about slipcover, there's no reason to upgrade this. You already have this exact thing. But if you want slipcover, that is available. Or if you don't own it, you can now own either version. So from Film Movement, Pelle the Conqueror, worth picking up. If you like kind of sprawling international dramas, period dramas specifically, I think you'll like it. Heading over to our friends at ETR Media, we're going back to the documentary world, but definitely staying in the genre realm. We have from them You're So Cool, Brewster, for the making of Fright Night. So the story of Fright Night, actually. So this is a epic documentary, just shy of 4 hours long, over 2 discs. I'm glad they didn't try to cram this on 1 disc. That would have been atrocious. But here you have the sprawling story of how Fright Night came to be, all kind of the behind the scenes details you would want to know from all the people who worked on it, from director Tom Holland to the actors, all the craftspeople, all kinds of people are interviewed for this. And you get very, very detailed. You get basically 2 feature films worth of films for both Fright Night and Fright Night 2. So I think it is, I should say that the first part of this documentary that covers Fright Night is on the 4K Sony Steelbook release, but the second part is exclusive to this set for now. We don't know. We know what we do know is that Fright Night 2 should be coming out in the future at some point on 4K. We know Michael Felsher's company has that. What we don't know is if the second part of this documentary will be on that release or not. But if you don't want to worry about it, or if you just want all of this in one package with optional slipcover, like all the partner label releases, well, this one actually might be sold out, the slipcover, so sorry if you're late on that. You can have this all in one package. The first disc is the first part. Second disc covers Fright Night Part 2. One interesting thing for me, I have not seen Fright Night 2. Is a blind spot. Also, it's not been like easily available, so I haven't been able to see that. So watching the making of maybe spoiled a few things, but I think it was interesting to watch this making of a movie I have not seen, but still nonetheless interesting. And I'm very eager to watch Fright Night 2 whenever it hits 4K eventually. But this is just one of the best, like most like in-depth documentaries about the making of a film one could ask for. And it is like what I would want any of my favorite films to have this similar level of care, even if it is like a standalone release like this. I love a good like deep dive with like all kinds of retrospective interviews with people. It's great. So if you're a Fright Night franchise fan, I can't see that you would be disappointed with this, because so many great tidbits and just wonderful things. And then you get extra special features in addition to that on this disc. So like just additional footage and featurettes and stuff with some of the talent. Overall video quality is good. I didn't notice anything majorly wrong, or any compression or anything like that. Everything holds together pretty well. ETR Media usually does a pretty solid job of that. All sound is good as well. No major hiccups or anything like that. Everything just rendered quite well. So You're So Cool, Brewster, the story of Fright Night. Worth checking out for fans of this franchise. It's a worthy pickup. My final title from the Vinegar Syndrome partner labels. I still have quite a few more afterwards. We have from Shudder, another horror title, Revealer. This is from a couple of years ago. This one really surprised me. I didn't know a lot about it. I may spoil a little bit of like the basic plot. So if you want to go in blind, just kind of skip a little bit. But it is about a woman who is a dancer at a peep show who one day while she is working, there is a lady who typically like protests outside of like kind of a religious person who protests outside her like the whole establishment. But on this particular day, it starts to basically the apocalypse starts to happen, and what happens is this lady gets stuck in her little peep show. And she ends up getting kind of like the only two people kind of left in this scenario are her and this woman who's always protesting her. And they are trying to survive together and at the same time start to maybe find some common ground with one another and try to survive this kind of Lovecraftian nightmare with like kind of like weird like snake-like creatures and other things trying to kill them, and there's revelations about some of them that kind of like influence their journey, and it's darkly humorous, it's great practical effects, has some subversive qualities and stuff, and overall I thought it was quite entertaining. I like this quite a bit, and I guess once again not overly long, only like maybe just under an hour and a half. Yeah, like hour 26 minutes. So doesn't like pad the runtime with like filler or anything. Everything just kind of goes along quite well and offers an entertaining time. But this one is looks good. A lot of dark spaces, maybe small bit of banding here and there, maybe a touch of crush in some of the shadows, but overall holds up quite well. Doesn't overly bloom or anything like that. Everything holds together nicely. You get a 3 commentary tracks. So loading this down with commentary tracks, you get a behind the scenes documentary, you get a video essay, you get a gag reel. Shudder's been doing a great job with their special features. And I know just a month or two ago, they did Destroy All Monsters. That was packed with special features, and they've done a really nice job with Revealer as well. So if you want kind of like a Lovecraftian horror dark comedy, Revealer is worth checking out. All right, now that we're done with the partner label titles, we are getting back to our normal show, and we are heading over to XYZ Films and their release of The Ritual with Dan Stevens and Al Pacino. Now, this movie is bad. I really love these actors. Ashley Greene is also in this movie, and I like her as well. But this movie, it's just your generic exorcism horror film, set like based on a true story, from like the 30s. It's all the cliches. There's nothing here. All the actors seem to be kind of sleepwalking through their roles. I love Pacino, but this is definitely a paycheck movie. Everything is just, you've seen it before. Like both of our leads just have like dramatic baggage from their past that are weighing them down, and you have the demon kind of like using certain things to get under their skin, all that kind of just the tropes after tropes. This is just not good. I was quite bored by it, so can't say I recommend this one. Audio visual wise, perfectly fine. Just came out earlier this year. Black levels are decent, maybe a small bit of banding, but everything holds together pretty well. Nice textures. Sound is fantastic. Really effective use of the surround sounds during the exorcism scenes. Special features, you got like 4 featurettes and some interviews and stuff. So overall, it's a good package for a movie that just isn't very good. If you are just in the mood for any kind of exorcism content, The Ritual is technically that, but I just really don't think it's worth it beyond that. Maybe if you're a fan of these people, find a way to rent it as cheaply as possible, but I don't think you'll really need it as part of your collection. But the next film, I'm more positive. Also from XYZ Films, Decal releasing Watch the Skies, which is a sci-fi film about it's a Swedish sci-fi film about a girl whose father has she says has been abducted by aliens whenever she was younger, and now she kind of gets as a part of this club that are believe in kind of these like extraterrestrial phenomena, and they kind of end up going down this kind of rabbit hole where there are revelations and just different kind of like sci-fi developments that happen. I don't want to spoil anything, but it takes some interesting paths throughout this narrative, but it very much feels like in conversation with various like Spielberg movies of the past, of just like you have these real world people that like hold a little bit of trauma, but they are coming together. They are trying to explain the unexplainable. They're banding together. They're trying to search for the truth and just where that eventually leads. It's very quaint, but also effective and compelling and everything. Overall, I really like this movie, and I think it's well worth a watch. In terms of the Blu-ray itself, I whenever this movie came out, I got an email touting that this movie is so special because they use like this AI enhanced program to turn the Swedish film and like manipulate the mouths and stuff and like make an English language version of this movie. So that is the version that is presented on this disc as the main feature. Luckily, if you don't want to have any AI bullshit going on, you can watch the original Swedish version as well. The only downside for this one is there are burned in subtitles for this one. So if that is a deal breaker, if you're sadly you can't take away the subtitles, too bad. But other than that, like, looks good, sounds good, and just watching this in the original Swedish works so much better. And like I noticed from sampling the English version in the Swedish version, like just some of the things were like rewritten. Like they mention like Christmas at the beginning of the like English version, but that is not what they say in the Swedish version. They just kind of keep it more generally like a snowy day or whatever. So it's just kind of like things that are just kind of changed and manipulated. It's kind of weird. But I always try to watch things in the original language as possible. So I'm glad that they did include that version. You also get some other special features, which the original version of the movie should be counted as a special features. It should be a given, but you get some featurettes on the movie as well. Video looks good. Sound is good. Overall, really nice presentation. And watch the Swedish version, but this is a really cool sci-fi tale for Watch the Skies. The next film, I didn't hate, but I also know it's not a good movie. This is from Magenta Light Studios, and their release of Bride Hard on Blu-ray. Now, I didn't hate it because I am sometimes feel a little bit dead inside in terms of watching so many heavy movies, and sometimes I just need like a lighthearted movie, and a lot of times the studios don't give me that anymore. So even whenever I see a bad one, I'm kind of like, I'm glad I watched this. But I can also be like, that wasn't very good, but it was something to watch. So that's the level I'm working on, if I'm being honest. Like, this was something to watch. There were people I liked in it, and that it fit that bill. Was it a good movie? No. Was it very funny? No. Did it occupy my time and I didn't hate it? Yes. I know a lot of people have a problem with Rebel Wilson. I don't hate her. I think she's perfectly fine. I like her. Anna Camp, great, love her. We have Anna Clumpsy from Veep and My Girl, great, love her. We have Oscar winner Divine Joy Randolph here. What is going on with her career between this and Shadow Force? I don't know. But she deserves better. But once again, like Shadow Force, the best part of the movie. And then we have Gigi Zimbardo, who I have never seen before, but she was great. Loved her. All these women are great. They are just not given great material. Everything is kind of run of the mill. It is just about a bunch of women, one of which, Rebel Wilson's character, she's like a spy that no one knows she's a spy. She's always just kind of seen as like this flaky friend who has almost gotten herself exiled from this bridal party because she's been kind of missing things and letting people down. Until at the wedding, there's a siege on the wedding from some people who are trying to get into this like mansion that they're at and steal something very valuable. But what they don't know is getting into this wedding with a trained spy, Rebel Wilson, who will be able to like save the day. And then she starts getting more people in on the action. So like ladies kicking ass and taking down like nefarious people. So if that sounds like a decent time waster for you, that's what it is. It's a decent time waster. But if you're looking for something like a really, really good movie, this isn't it. It's not very funny. Its action is passable. You also got Justin Hartley from This Is Us in here as well. Yeah. So I don't hate it, but I understand not very good. Blu-ray wise, looks good, bright, colorful, textures on all the dresses, everything looks good, foliage, greenery, all that looks great. Red dresses, fantastic. Bold colors, beautiful. Looks great. Audio, lots of explosions, like rocket-propelled grenades, all that. Great. Fantastic. Technically, great. No special features. None. Great disc for a movie that's not good, but if you want to waste your time with something that's very light and stuff, you could do worse. You could do a lot better, but you could do worse. So Magenta Light and Bright Hard, it is what it is. My next film comes from the people at Neon and their release of The Actor. So here we have Andre Holland as our titular performer. I will say this is a burned disc, so if your player has problems with that, be aware of that. This is from the director who was a co-director on Anomalisa with Charlie Kaufman. And you kind of get these sensibilities here as Andre Holland plays a man who, at the beginning of the movie, he is with a married woman, and he ends up getting his ass beat, and to the point where he cannot remember who he is, and he's kind of, he can't really form new memories very well. And he's kind of stranded in this town, trying to figure out who he is. And it's kind of like a very dreamy space. And in the course of this, he meets a woman played by Gemma Chan. So a lot of this movie is about him trying to figure out who he is, maybe figuring out who he is and not really liking what he's learning about himself and who he was and how that kind of impacts him, and just kind of that general story. There's a lot here that's very intriguing. There's a lot of like dream logic and like scenarios and stuff that are really cool. The script, it's a little bit lacking in terms of execution. There are some things that are kind of introduced that doesn't really quite connect here in the end. But overall, I think it's a bold swing, and I like kind of these like untenable scenarios with really great performances. So just for the audaciousness alone, I think The Actor is worth a watch to see if it kind of connects with you. Because there are a lot of interesting elements to this. It just doesn't maybe always execute it in the right way. And I could see myself liking this more on repeat viewings, but for now, I think this is a good movie that falls short of greatness, but still worth a watch from Neon. Audiovisual wise, this has a very dreamy aesthetic, as I've mentioned. So a very soft picture, but everything looks good. Some nice bold colors. Sound wise, looks good. It has kind of a classic Hollywood feel to it. But if that sounds interesting to you, it works well. No special features, but otherwise, look, audiovisual presentation, good job. Now, from our friends at Universal, putting out a movie from Briarcliff Entertainment, we have My Dead Friend Zoe. So from that title alone, you can surmise certain things from here, but this is a story about a woman, played by Sonequa Martin Green, from The Walking Dead and Star Trek Discovery, who was a soldier, who with her one of her best friends here, who unfortunately did not make it back. But now after her tour of duty, she is back trying to live her life, but her friend, her dead friend Zoe, is still hanging around, kind of like talking to her, kind of like a manifestation in her mind and her grief and everything. And she has been like kind of ordered to go to like these like therapy sessions for like trauma and everything. And at the same time, she's having to deal with her grandfather, played by Ed Harris, who is starting to feel the effects of like burgeoning Alzheimer's. So there's all this kind of stuff going on, and Morgan Freeman plays her like kind of group leader at her therapy session. So this is really kind of a interesting entry point into tackling grief and just kind of like the feeling of like not of loss and in different forms, and how you keep going after experiencing traumatic loss, and finding new like people to connect with, and reckoning with your memories of people that you've lost and all that kind of good stuff. So it takes the idea of processing grief and loss and everything very seriously, but there is a lot of comedic stuff in here to kind of balance and not make balance kind of the tragedy with like the joys of life. So it's not like an unbearable watch. It's really quite beautiful and moving where how this eventually goes and like the directions it goes. And there are things that make it a little bit conventional in certain ways, but it does also upend conventions in various ways. And I think how this approaches things, it's very admirable, very impressive, and it really, like, I found it quite touching. And maybe I shed a few tears, maybe. But overall, really impressed by this one. This kind of went more under the radar when it debuted earlier this year in theaters, but it's very much worth checking out now that it's on Blu-ray. Good movie, good audio visual presentation. It's a really sleek, gorgeous movie. A lot of this takes place in really beautiful countryside, or like on kind of like the Oregon coast. Looks great, and just audio sounds good as well. In terms of special features, you get a making of featurette and some deleted scenes. So overall, my dead friend Zoe, a little different look at grief, but very much one worth checking out. My next title is approaching war from a little bit of a different context. We have one of Sylvester Stallone's earliest movies, Rebel. The director's cut is called Rebel. This was originally released as like kind of a different movie called No Place to Hide, but it has been kind of recut by the director into this to this version that's called Rebel, that kind of focuses a little bit more on Sylvester Stallone and kind of like tackles the story, just a little tightens things up a little bit more in terms of this story about a group of kind of like anti-war terrorists who decide that they're going to try to like take down, or they're like protesting against Vietnam, and they're find a way to potentially go after some targets that could really land a blow for like the anti-war movement, and how that eventually impacts them as they try to like carry out this extremist ideology. I wouldn't really have expected to see Sylvester Stallone as kind of like a long hair hippie with like a floppy hat and stuff, but he does a nice job here. But the movie itself, even in its new form, its Rebel form, it just doesn't quite it works, but it's not really super interesting. It just really kind of meanders along. I was never really super bought into this narrative itself. There's a few moments that work once you get to the end, but the journey getting there is just kind of a little bit of a slog. So I never really could get on this wavelength to find it fascinating. I mostly like just watched it just to see early Sylvester Stallone's vehicle, and he does a decent job. But this movie, it's not like exactly a hidden gem. It's just a movie that's been kind of unavailable, and it's a curiosity. So not a great movie, but fine. Video wise, even with its kind of new restored form, it didn't look super great. It's very soft and just kind of gauzy. It just doesn't look very good. It's been restored, but it still doesn't look great. This was a very low budget movie back in the day, and you can tell. Colors are good, but just overall detail, not what you really want from a Blu-ray. This is a burned disc. I think I showed that off, but if not, you got burned disc. If it doesn't work well for you on your player, don't get it. You get a making of the director's cut of this, only for like hardcore Sylvester Stallone fans, maybe, but otherwise, if you're curious, maybe find some other way to check this out, but it's not the most interesting movie. Heading over to our friends at Altered Innocence, we have the, I believe, 2023 movie, The Maiden. This one I quite liked. This one has like kind of a dreamy feel as well. It starts off with a tragedy with two guys kind of hanging out, two like teenage friends, and one of them ends up getting killed, and it's him kind of like spending a large portion of the rest of the movie like kind of processing his grief, and like he's like kind of just going around just dealing with stuff and trying to like work through his pain, and he ends up finding the diary of another student, a girl who has been missing, and it kind of like, it's a dual story that's kind of like people dealing with loss, grief, growing up, isolation, all these kind of heavy themes, all within kind of like almost a dreamy, fantastical realm where you're not quite sure what is reality, what's kind of maybe magical realism, what is, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a lot of different interpretations for this. And I think this is one I think will definitely like yield dividends whenever you rewatch it. I'm looking forward to rewatch this. What I do know is it did impact me and I did like it, and that is a plus in my book, and it is worth checking out. This Blu-ray looks great. It's obviously a labor of love. This was shot on film, and because you can see all the little specks throughout that, like, you really know this was shot on film. But it looks great, and because that's how it's supposed to look. It's not because of like a bad transfer, but it just maintains the original look of the film. Original audio sounds good. Everything, the audio, great. You do get a commentary track, which was great. You get deleted scenes. You get a behind the scenes featurette. Overall, Altered Innocence has treated this one well. Nice discovery from them. So The Maiden, worth checking out. From Cult Epics, we have a Dutch drama from the Netherlands, a Dakota. This is kind of like a cult film over there. Here's a reversible cover here of Dakota. This one is an interesting one. I learned a little bit afterwards that this film had a troubled production history in which the lead actress kind of bounced halfway through production along with her boyfriend, who was a director of photography, and just how had to be made without them. The narrative is very choppy because our lead actress kind of disappears at one point. But mostly it is about our main character he's a pilot who's obsessed with his airplane. And yeah, he gets into some illegal activity where he's like transporting certain things or doing certain runs that he shouldn't be doing, but he's trying to make money because he's trying to keep his plane maintained and all kinds of stuff. And the movie's okay, but the movie pads its runtime quite a bit just by like showing really like mundane things with the pilot fixing up his airplane, flying his airplane, just kind of moving around the airplane. And I think you can really tell that there was like some shortcomings in the script because like narratively wise, like things that happen, this would probably be like a 25-minute short film, but they really kind of like stretch things out. So that can kind of test your patience a little bit, but if you kind of get on its vibe and just kind of like or give yourself over to a more slow paced kind of like meditative airplane drama, it's fine. It's not my favorite film I've discovered from Cult Epics, but it's decent. You get a new 2K restoration for this one and it looks good. Nice stable colors, no major damage. Good presentation from Cult Epics. Original language. You get a commentary track. You get a featurette from the Cannes premiere. Over and photo gallery, trailers, stuff like that. Overall, Dakota, nice release for a movie that not the best, but it's also not terrible. But Cult Epics has done a nice job with it. Finally, I saved one of the most batshit insane ones for the last. From 88 Films, we have The Cat. This is wild. I really like this packaging from 88 Films. This is a sci-fi film. I didn't know anything about this movie before I was watching it, and I did not expect this to involve aliens, but it does. Aliens arrive on Earth and take like kind of a humanoid form. There's also this cat that is also an alien, and they're kind of like at odds with another competing alien figure, like some nice aliens versus some bad aliens, and then there's a cat that gets into some knockdown, drag out fights that go crazy. There's like alien body horror stuff going on in this one. It is wild. This movie goes places I never would have expected, but if you like kind of like practical effects and kind of like insane like just sci-fi antics and like ridiculous, like if you want to see like a cat like have a knockdown drag out fight with a dog, that's the kind of stuff you'll get with The Cat, and it's fun. It's wild. If you're like me, you'll just giggle with glee the whole time just to seeing where this goes. So if you like a sci-fi action drama, definitely check this one out. It's been given a nice release, a new 2K restoration from the original camera negative. It looks really, really nice. Nice textures, details, no major damage, no black crush. Everything's like really, really dialed into a really nice aesthetic. Looks nice. Original Cantonese audio sounds great. No major damage, shortcomings, popping, anything like that. Holds up well. You also get a Japanese version of the movie that was cut and is in standard definition. But if you want just a slightly different version of the movie to watch, you get that Japanese cut. You also, for the original film, you get a commentary track, interviews, just a really nice selection of special features. 88 Films. This one, I believe, is selling pretty fast, so seek this out. Even though it doesn't come out for several weeks by the time this episode debuts, it's getting scarce. So make sure to pick up The Cat if it interests you. It's very much worth checking out. that is my show. I hope you found something among this chaos that you are interested in. If so, let me know in the comments. I always love to know what interests you. Let me know what you want me to talk about in the future. I love doing this for you. I have such a blast. Thank you for those who tune in every week. I appreciate those who like this video and subscribe to the channel and just share this with anyone who you know loves physical media. I really, really, really appreciate it. I will be back again next week with our all new fresh batch of titles that I've already been working on. But until next time, enjoy these movies.